Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to not be present with you. I'm in Strasbourg for the plenary session, and I would like to pass this message. You probably know, but I'm rapporteur of sustainable urban mobility that will be voted this year by the European Parliament.
Mrs. Delli, what are the drivers for a sustainable public transport strategy in Europe, and which should be the priorities of this strategy?
It is urgent for Europe to fully take in charge of public policy of sustainable transport. Europe has reduced its emission of greenhouse gas, will transport sector increase to 30% since 1990. Single-handedly, urban transport accounts for 1/4 greenhouse gas emission, mainly due to road traffic. The stakes are high for transport meet European goal, and reducing carbon footprint will imply a reducing effort of 80% compared 1990 emission generated by the transport sector alone. There is climate emergency. Polluted air endangers the health. Each year, about 400,000 premature deaths in Europe are caused by fine particles, mainly emitted by diesel vehicles. It is no longer time to wait. According to the UN, pollution by 2050 will be the first cause of mortality in the world. Our road mobility model also puts EU citizens at risk. Nearly 42,000 deaths by road accident per year occur in Europe at an estimated cost of 45 billion euros. Europe cannot stand confronted with these challenges. She strives through its white paper on transport to build a sustainable transportation system and to contribute to an integrated Europe. Europe must remember the way to research, development and innovation, read roads, innovative and connected solutions. Optimization of the existing network should contribute to the establishment of Europe mobility plans and put citizens at the center to ensure efficiency of projects. The organization of public transport is a long-term but must be a priority in order to ensure greater complementary, better intermodal and effective modal shift from road to rail and waterway. Freight transport should promote rail, sea and river freight, less carbon emitter. The transition to a low-carbon economy rates will require considerable and will coordinate funding resources that are not on the table. But Europe is trying to go in the right direction, as with the opening of discussion on the EU vignette. And a European sustainable public transport system, interaction and effective coordination will be needed to avoid the proliferation of national barriers. Interoperability is a strategic key for more sustainable and efficient transport.
What policy measures should be adopted at local, national and EU level, and which solutions should be considered in order to improve accessibility of public transport systems and remove barriers to mobility of the whole population?
The accessibility of public transport system for all is a key element of a sustainable transport system, efficient and quality. Each of us as users of transport systems should benefit from either access to buses, trams, bicycles, boats, etc. The picture is clear. Better transport accessibility are obvious economic and social benefits. We all need to have access to transport. So what? We need to reduce urban sprawl and rethink how conception of workplace. We have In each country, they establish a zero VAT for public and collective transport. We need to push for the implementation of social or reduced prices for transport. We need to create financial tools and instruments to collective specific transportation, and I managed to include the financing of urban mobility in the criteria of the European Fund for Strategic Investment or Juncker Plan. The METPEX program goes in this direction, as it aims to develop a tool to measure the passenger experience through their itineraries. That's true. Understanding of our environment must be at the root of public policy.
Do you consider that access to public transports is a fundamental right for every European citizen?
It's not longer acceptable that more and more people are not in capacity or ability to move. A person who is not mobile is an isolated person, cut off from the world around him. We must say accessibility is also the means of transport use. In my country, for example, France, nearly 8 million people have not more the means to have mobility. Thanks ability, it is also respond to the precariousness of transport user. Immobility is too often imposed for disabled people or people, precarious people. This situation pushes to exclusion and isolation. Access to public transport is access to society. The means of exercising is freedom to have access to work, housing, care or education. While access to public transport should be a fundamental right, which cannot be restrictive for financial resources.
How can this be safeguarded on European-wide scale?
At European level, we need to enter the access to mobility and public transport in the European Charter of Fundamental Rights. We need to work at EU level to social tariffs, and that all actors have to be associated to encourage joint work among decision makers and the transport system players to work hand in hand with all users without forgetting those with reduced mobility. But let's say, we also have to fight for the idea of public service transport. Absent concept in many European states, but so essential to our daily life.
Which principles guide EP proposals for sustainable urban mobility, and how should EU address the expected rise of demand for urban transport in the coming years?
Yes, mobility is not a goal in itself, but should be a right for all citizens. 80% of Europeans will soon live in cities. Mobility should promote access for all, congestion in our urban and suburban areas. Another mobility is not only possible but essential. The objective is to rethink the way we move in the city, both in terms of transporting people and the goods. To achieve our sustainable mobility objective, priority must be given in electric mobility plans, clean transport modes, trams, cable cars, bike and car sharing. It is urgent that member states attach particular importance to intermodality, combining walking, cycling and public transport links. In this sense, I propose to double the use of bicycle in urban areas by 2025 and doubling the mesh and use of public mass transport by 2030. I also appeal to the establishment of a European Days of Cycling and a car-free day on Sunday, for example, to generalize the already successful experience in several European cities. On this eve of authoring the climate summit, COP21, the European Union, member states and local authorities must put energy efficiency at the heart of urban mobility policies. To do this, I propose that the European Commission has soon launched the drafting of a legislative package. The name of this legislative package is Transport Climate, involving all stakeholders, including the city, to secure transport for binding targets to reduce emission greenhouse gas. As of now, I urge the Commission to act to the Member States and local authorities to encourage urban center eradication of diesel, the gradual reduction of petrol vehicles from 2030 and their final disappearance in 2050. Within 3 months of the summit's last chance, so does the credibility of Europe in this field and our collective responsibility toward the planet.